Hello and welcome back to Raise Gaming in a new Baldurs Gate video. Today I'm back with a new build, my second for the channel. This one is incredible. We're talking about a mix of Paladin, making the most of their Thunderous Smite, enhancing that damage as much as possible, meaning guaranteed maximum damage when you use it, that's also guaranteed a crit. Therefore, you can absolutely smash a target at will with very little setup required. This is all thanks to our multi-class concept working with Cleric, Tempest Cleric to be specific. Tempest Cleric allows you to channel divinity once per short rest or even twice per short rest at level 6 Cleric. This means you can choose to Destructive Wrath enhance your Thunderous Smites, resulting in a maximum damage Thunderous Smite, which combined with the Illicit Power here, Look of the Far Realms, you can guarantee it to be a crit. With that crit, you're able to then reaction Divine Smite, which thanks to our higher Cleric level, we can upcast to level 4 or even 5 if we wanted to. Though do be aware that upcasting Thunderous Smite doesn't actually enhance its damage. It's just a way to get some extra smites because you have more spell slots to use on it, but upcasting the Radiant Smite, that does improve the damage, and that's where you should be intentionally upcasting on the reaction. The result is an absolute powerhouse of a hit, all in one turn, which by the way isn't even our full turn in this build, because yes, of course, we're running extra attack via the Paladin, meaning we just get to smash a target, then move to another after that one's dead and just do it again. Basically a consistent over 200 damage per full turn easily. In fact, at level 12 against a tanky enemy that wasn't even weak to say thunder or radiant damage, I was dealing 164 damage in the first Thunderous plus Divine Smite go. Easily able to finish it off with the second attack via extra attack. It's just silly. And I mean, outside of smashing targets every turn, you have all this utility thanks to Paladin, Lay on Hands, its extra attack, or the Cleric side of things with its spells, the AoE damage potential there. It's so well rounded outside of its very respectable burst. So we're happy with this build. It's time to explain it. We're going to go through all the levels and explain it as we go. The total level we'll go for, though, is 5 in Paladin and 7 in Cleric. To begin with, though, we will, of course, start with Paladin, going Oath of Vengeance, and for our ability points, it's set up like so. 16 Strength, 10 Dexterity, 14 on the Constitution, 8 on the Intelligence, it's not relevant at all, 16 Wisdom for our Cleric casts, and only 10 Charisma. The Strength is, of course, for the melee damage and the chance to hit with the smites, and Wisdom is, of course, for the casting of our Cleric spells. You might be wondering why we drop Charisma though. As a Paladin, we do scale our Paladin spells with that, but the truth is, thanks to Destructive Wrath, we force the max damage out anyway, so the Charisma has no use there, and for the rest of the smites, it just doesn't need it. After all, we're only going to be Thundering Smite and Divine Smiting. Every other spell is going to be a Cleric spell where Wisdom is going to matter. So that's level 1. At level 2, we're going to go Paladin a second time, of course, because then we get going with our Divine Smites, and most importantly, the reaction Divine Smites. For the fighting style, we want to go Great Weapon Fighting because we're planning on using a two-hand weapon for this build, as we will explain soon. Now we've hit level 3, it's time to start multiclassing, where of course we're going into Cleric. Specifically though, we want to go into Tempest Cleric under Tempest Domain to get the subclass features of that. For example, Wrath of the Storm, we can strike back an attacking creature, dealing lightning damage or thunder damage. For cantrips, Guidance is really useful, Sacred Flame for a ranged Radiance attack, and maybe Light is a nice utility. And for your prepared spells, it's whatever you like again, except I would strongly recommend you run Create or Destroy Water, because with this you'll be able to wet enemies and they take more lightning damage, which we will be using for AoE opportunities later in the game. At level 4, we're going to go Cleric again. This is going to get us our next subclass feature, and the all-important Destructive Wrath, where this build truly begins to pop off. We can only use 1 per short rest right now because we only have the 1 divinity charge, but at this point we're going to start getting some real spell slots, which is exciting. Once we hit a total level of 5, it's time to go back to the Paladin to get our feat and our extra attack. Do note at this level, with this subclass, we're going to get Hunter's Mark, which allows us to deal extra damage to a target we're focusing, which is very nice to enhance our damage. At the next level, we'll once again go into the Paladin for the feat, where we're going to go Ability Improvement and max Strength to 18 now. This gets us to our next modifier of +4 to Strength checks. And then at the next level, we have Paladin level 5, where we finally get our extra attack. And again, this is another big power spike for the build, not just because of extra attack, but also our oath spells. We get Misty Step and we get Hold Person. Misty Step allows us to position on a bonus action, always being on target, which is really nice. And then hold person means we can concentrate hold someone, and any attack from 3 meters or closer will always be a critical hit, which is incredible for enhancing our damage even more. Also at this point you can get branding smite, which is nice to deal with enemies that go invisible and is more radiant damage. I'd also recommend you run aid, which is a temporary 5 hit point for you and your whole party until you long rest again, so it's a very good long lasting buff. Now we've hit level 5 Paladin, it's time to swap out of that and start really pumping Cleric to get the major perks of that subclass and also the spell slots. What's great about this level is you can grab Spiritual Weapon, which is a very useful ability, and there's utility in CC like Silence, which can be devastating. Next we're going to hit Cleric level 4 for our next feat. Now this is a choice. You can either go Ability Improvement to hit the max cap of 20 strength for the +5 on strength, which is very good, or you could go Alert because you have quite lower initiative in this build, which means you're usually going 3rd, maybe even 4th in your party. So if you want to get going quickly and crunch enemies, you can take Alert to never be surprised, but also get that big bonus to initiative. Personally, it's a choice whether you want to hit harder or be a little bit more consistent and faster in the combat. Then at a total level of 10, we can hit 5 on the Cleric, which gives us level 4 spell slots, very exciting for upcasting smites, and destroy undead, which means turn undead creature also deals big radiant damage. Really cool. We also get the inherent spells of Core Lightning and Sleet Storm, which provides some very potent AoE potential, especially with Core Lightning. If we're making enemies wet, like we explained earlier, this can be very potent indeed. At this point, we can also get level 3 Cleric spells. An incredible one is Spirit Guardians. Another great option is the Glyph of Warding, and Mass Healing Word is great too. Next will be level 11, at which point we can go Cleric level 6, which is the big one because we get Channeled Oath 2 stacks now, which is amazing. So every combat scenario, you should be doing that and absolutely crushing your opponents because of it. And of course, for our final level at 12, it's the last level into Cleric, giving us our highest point of our spell slots, meaning we can upcast a Smite all the way to level 5, making it hit like a truck. This is the complete build and is very strong indeed. Now, as mentioned in the introduction, when it comes to Illicit Powers, there is one that I really recommend you take, which is the Luck of the Far Realms. This is very important because, yeah, you can choose to make the attack a crit. Obviously, we want to make the big hit of Thunderous Smite hit as hard as possible, and obviously with the crit, we can do a Divine Smite as a follow-up. So making our Destructive Wrath juiced up Thunderous Smite crit is obviously vital, and we want Luck of the Far Realms because of that. Now, what about equipment? Naturally, you're just going to run whatever is best at the time, whatever you have access to at the point of the playthrough you're in. But having a goal to aim for is a good idea, and I think it's important we include that in this video. So we have a perfect weapon to talk about. Nirulna, a legendary trident, which has inherent thunder damage on it and a really cool thunder damage effect. Zephyr Connection means the weapon will return to you when you throw it, and when you throw it, it deals an explosion of thunder damage in a 6 meter sort of radius, which is really cool in itself, though you won't be doing that all the time. Occasionally it does come up and it is useful. It also has Veil of the Wind. You gain a 3 meter bonus to movement speed and jump distance, and it provides complete immunity to fall damage. It's really cool. It does also glow, which is useful in dark areas, but a bit awkward for stealth. It comes with 2 unique attacks. Zephyr Flash, which allows you to rush forward, creating an air vortex that blasts foes and even inflicts bleeding, dealing thunder damage as well. It's a really strong attack, absolutely awesome, and able to AoE as well. The second attack is Zephyr Break. It's basically a wind blast that clears clouds and pushes enemies back, maybe even knocking them off balance, which can be very useful. Both of these attacks can be used once per short rest, so pretty much every fight. To get it, you need to do this. Upon entry to Act 3, you will immediately encounter on the west side of the Baldurs Gate region a circus, which you can talk your way in or even teleport. Straight west of the circus entrance is this Djinn, who is rigging a minigame. If you pickpocket him and steal the mage hand casting ring, he can no longer rig the game and you can win. He'll of course be mad at you for stopping him from cheating, and he'll send you to a prison he just has on demand. Quickly work your way to the portal via stealth or otherwise and break the lock that's on the chest next to the exit portal, which has the trident within. Next, there's 2 other items I want to highlight. First is the Amulet of Branding, which allows you to get the transmutation spell Brand the Weak. Expose the weak points of an enemy, making them vulnerable to either bludgeoning, slashing, or piercing damage. In our case, we want piercing damage. Basically, it means you'll deal twice as much damage on that damage type for one attack. As insane as that sounds, it's only the piercing damage, so say your Thunderous Smite, the thunder damage, which is a big part of it, isn't going to be enhanced by that. But it's still worth being aware of and using. The third item is one I don't have because unfortunately I can't get it. It's the Killer's Sweetheart Ring, which means after a kill, your next attack roll will be a crit once per long rest. You get it during the Shard Gauntlet during one of the trials, and somehow I missed it. Honestly, I can't explain that. But now I'm in Act 3, I can't go back to get it, but at least I'm making you guys aware of it. Now let's cover the gameplay. We have two modes of play. Are we in ultra big burst mode on an ideal target, or are we going less hard and more measured? For the big burst, here's how that works. You can use a level 1 to lowest level, highest level Thunderous Smite. It doesn't matter, it's not going to change the damage, but you want to cast the highest level Divine Smite as a reaction after the Thunderous Smite to maximize damage. Basically, the Smite will trigger the question of Destructive Wrath, which we activate to guarantee the max damage, and then we'll also activate Luck of the Far Realms to guarantee a crit. Now, before we go ham, we can consider buffing ourselves up. Maybe have an ally cast haste, bless you for slightly more damage, or another way, maybe you make the enemy weaker in various ways like marking them. All of that could be totally overkill though, because we're dealing so much damage. You want to consider, is the enemy weak to the thunder? Is it weak to divine damage? Will I absolutely crush it if I upcast to 2 rather than 4 or 5? Do I even need to Destructive Wrath? These are the questions. It's up to you to work out and decide how hard you need to go. Now in this clip, you can see that against just a normal enemy without anything fancy going on, at level 9, I'm able to destroy it. I hit her for 48, 24, and 12 via the Thunderous Smite, and then I went to Divine Smite at level 3 for another 48 damage. A normal enemy at level 9, I'm dealing 132 damage in one attack, which simply killed her. And that was like the mini boss of that encounter. I didn't really need to level 3 Divine Smite. It was mega overkill. I could have just used level 1. And this is just one attack. I still have my extra attack, which I used to just go to another target and smash them with another Divine Smite after a unique weapon attack. That turn, I did 190 damage at level 9 against normal enemies without any buffing up really. Next, much later on at level 12, I decided to test the damage against a strong as hell Steel Watcher, which I was able to hit for 84 on the first hit, then follow up with a Divine Smite in the same turn, which was another 80. 164 damage in one action turn before we do our extra attack against a target, again, not weak to Thunder or Divine, but quite resistant. There's so much potential here, especially with Thunder weak or Divine weak enemies. Of course, there's many of those in this game, that I could easily see damage of 300 plus in one turn. Outside of all that, we can just rely on our extra attack ability to smash targets up close and personal, or the Cleric abilities to support the team, or AoE smash packs of enemies. You're going to have options like Cold Lightning, especially if you make enemies wet with the Create Water, Sleet Storm or Ice Storm to freeze and create ice, or even the healing options that this build will have. But yeah, there you have it. That's my guide to the Tempest Paladin concept. A real consistent fighter with extra attack, many smite options thanks to the spell slots, so much utility. The build feels nice and well-rounded, able to deal with many situations, and obviously super powerful in good chunks of the game, certainly Act 2 where divine damage is king. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.